Ladies and gents, I'm so excited to be doing this, Johnny.
Welcome, welcome.
Florida Man Sports is live.
Woo!
Let's go. So, yes, folks, it took us season 2 to finally get on TV, streaming on all platforms as always. But, Johnny, like we said we would, we are live on TV and on the radio. So, thank you so much for joining us for our very first Florida Man Sports podcast, where we are completely, Johnny, are we completely set up now, I think?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out, though, am I looking at the screen? Am I supposed to be looking at you?
I don't know. We're going to get this figured out, folks. We're going to get this figured out.
What am I supposed to do with my hands?
In the meantime, we're giving you your NBA buffet. The play-in games have started. The playoffs are here. So, Johnny, this episode is dedicated strictly to the NBA. And we already know East and West, Johnny, who is the 7th seed. They're no longer a play-in team. They're now in the playoffs. We're talking about the Lakers, and we're talking about Philly.
Yeah.
Both teams are in the playoffs. How did those games go, Johnny?
The games I'm not too worried about. If you saw the Laker game like I did, I'm not going to have a whole in-depth thing regarding New Orleans.
Sure.
The main thing that stood out to me, LeBron.
Yes.
Missing this shot after shot, especially during clutch time. But that's not anything beyond the normal with LeBron. I know the LeBron haters are like he's the greatest. I mean, the lovers are saying he's the greatest that's ever played.
Yeah, I'm actually. Yeah.
But it was not a good game by LeBron down the stretch. I don't care what his final stats were. If you watch the game, it really wasn't. I mean, airballing some three-pointers during really clutch times to win it. What upset me the most was this brand of basketball by New Orleans. There was a point where it was a minute and a half left in the game to where the Pelicans stole the ball from LeBron, were going down, had a wide open layup, and they chose to dump it out for the three-pointer, which really is a perfect example of today's NBA. You have a wide open layup. No, I'm going to dump it out for a three-pointer. The Lakers steal that pass, and they went ahead and actually from the Pelicans, supposed to take a 2-point lead. The Lakers went ahead and dropped a 3. It's a 5-point swing right there. And then this suspect injury by Zion, the most suspect injury of all time.
No, that was a real injury. Now, I want to chop this up a little bit, but one thing I'm going to disagree with you on, I'm always very critical on LeBron James, only because people like to do this Jordan comparison all the time, which really bothers me. But you got to give this man some respect, man. 23 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, 39 years old. As somebody who's very critical of him, kudos, LeBron James. You did what you had to do as far as the assignment goes. Assignment completed. You are now a playoff team. And that's a big deal.
No, this is my problem. This is my problem with guys.
You just got to show them some love.
No, I'm not going to. I'll show them love on certain things because you're looking at the final stat line. Like, that's the whole thing. Oh, look at that. His stat line, 29. Dude, you watch the game. These are people who I know you watched it, but plenty of people who don't watch the damn game. They see 23.99. Did you watch the game? Did you saw
the game
during clutch time? The terrible shots. He was horrible in the fourth. He was horrible when it really mattered.
Coach Ham did a great job. Their big three did their job. Davis with 20 points, Russell with 21 points. So their version of big three played well. And look, we can agree to disagree on this. At the end of the day, they are the 7th seed. And so now just kind of want to reiterate from last episode, Johnny, before we talk about the East, as far as like the plan and how it works, right? So Zion's hurt. It's fair to say, right? He's hurt from what we saw.
Well, sure. This injury, this supposed injury. Listen, the Lakers are the 7th seed. They're facing the Nuggets. So we're going to talk more about it later on, but it doesn't really matter what's going to happen with the Lakers.
Before we jump into the 7th seed of the East, so now that the Pelicans lost with an injured Zion, they're going to have to play the Kings. Because remember, the Kings beat the Warriors. The Warriors are packing. That's the way that the plan works. So the Warriors are done. We probably need to talk a little bit about what that means for the Warriors. But talk to me about the Kings. Talk to me about the Pelicans. How do you see that going?
New Orleans swept the season series with Sacramento.
Right.
So that doesn't matter because at the end of the day, if Zion's not back, that sweep is not the same team. Honestly, with New Orleans and Sacramento, it can go either way. It can go completely either way on who's going to win that, based on how Zion's doing here. Sacramento is just amazing behind the 3. Yeah, and there's kind of just but, you live and die on the 3. So are they going to live? They're going to die? I don't know yet. I really want to see what's going to happen with Zion, if that fake injury is going to go ahead and linger or what's going to happen exactly. So it's too early to tell. New Orleans, Sacramento, 2 evenly matched teams. If both are at full strength, I mean, come on. New Orleans dominated Sacramento during the regular season, so I don't see why it's going to change in the playoffs.
I'm going to disagree with you there. I'm taking the Kings, healthy Zion or not. I think the Kings win this one.
Okay.
And so then we've got a Lakers, whoever else is going to be the 8th seed. We'll talk about rankings a little bit, Johnny, but let me switch real quick to the East.
All right.
Where we have a 1-point win by the Philadelphia 76ers. What are your thoughts on the game, on Philly, and before we go over the 8th seed?
Well, the Heat choked. They had the game. They're up by 20. It was. Jeez. Listen, the Sixers, since Embiid has been back, haven't lost. They haven't lost a game. This is a ridiculous team. Before Embiid went out, they were the best team in the East next to Boston. Embiid was the MVP frontrunner. So with Embiid back, and man, he's getting his legs, this team looks relatively unstoppable. So the fact that the Heat lost, not a surprise. We talked last week, and I had picked the Sixers to actually be the 6th seed. But I said, if they end up in the play-in, look out, because they're not going to lose a game to play-in. So this went as expected. I had the Heat at the 8th seed, and of course, if the Sixers were in the play-in, they were going to win that game. So they're in it. They're the 7th seed. Yeah. They're going to face the Knicks. We'll talk more about that later on. There, the Heat, man, so disappointing. But
they lose by 1, and then Johnny, the Hawks, of course, they lose to the Bulls. So the Bulls beat them 131-116. So now the Bulls play the Heat.
Yes.
How do you see that?
It's the exact same thing that happened last year. Literally everything's the same. The Hawks lose to the Bulls. The Bulls are playing the Heat for that 9-10 spot. This is why it's highly unlikely the Heat are going to be able to pull off what they pulled off last year. But they're still going to beat the Bulls. They're going to beat the Bulls. The Heat still look good. They just fought. They went up against a juggernaut of a Sixers team. The Chicago Bulls are not a juggernaut. The Chicago Bulls, everybody's scratching their heads on how they even got into the play-in, but the Eastern Conference isn't as strong as the West this year. So, of course, they got in with their sub-500 record.
This is why they got to play these games, Johnny, because, again, in the 8th seed, I disagree with you again, brother. Okay. I see Chicago as a much better team this year than they were last year. I think that they have payback on their minds because, to your point, they lost last year, right? They lost the play-in against Miami. And now, just, again, as we're doing this recording and as it's coming out, Butler's hurt. Butler may not play. So, Butler hurt. Miami's had this problem all year long. It's one person after the other with injuries. So, give me the Bulls. Give me the Bulls to come out as the 8th seed.
Yeah, I don't see it that way. I mean, even if Butler's hurt, the Bulls are just not a good team. They should be playing in Miami. So, I'll give it to the Heat in that scenario there. But one thing's for sure is that I was correct.
Quick to always say he's correct, but go ahead.
I was correct that Miami would have been better off with Damian Lillard instead of Hero. What happened? They won less games. Wow. It was like, so what? So exactly, I was correct. You over here talking about
one thing that you said in the beginning of the podcast with the LA game. You said, "Did you watch the game?" If you watched the game, well, Johnny, I think a lot of people that are listening and watching us and streaming here have seen the games with Miami and Lillard. Hero, it does not matter. If you don't have a healthy core, Johnny, it does not matter. I argue that if they did have Lillard, that they would probably be around the same place, 7th or 8th place, because of the injuries. I think that Miami is one of the few teams that, statistically speaking, having their big three in like 20% of their games, and I think that's given them more credit than not. So I'm sorry, I don't think that's a fair analysis when you're talking about the injuries that they went through this year. It's not right.
How is it not a fair analysis? Part of your
you just said that if Lillard was there, that they would be fine.
Are you going to let me talk? Are you let me talk? Because part of your argument, which was asinine, and I heard over and over and over again, was about this youth movement and how that Hero's young. He's like, Hero was injured so many games this season. Hero was supposed to be reliable because he's young, because he's the guy that Lillard's old. Lillard played more games this year than Hero. So the old man who produced more, and especially with the Heat, he would have been asked to do even more, right? And his numbers would have been better.
Like, so you're comparing apples to oranges. It's like, not. Yes, because if the players,
bro, take your lumps, bro.
No,
take the L, bro.
Take the L. Is with this team, you don't know how the season goes. But you know what did go through?
The L.
Talking about taking L's. I said Miami would be in this spot, and I was right. So you could say whatever you want.
Sure.
The Magic are in the playoffs, and Miami is a playing team once again. So talking about taking L's, I was right about that.
No, dude,
you were wrong.
Dude, you can't.
It's irrelevant.
You can't take the W when it comes to the Magic because you call the Magic in the playoffs every single year. Every single year is the same thing. Magic and playing. It's okay. You got it right this time. They were in the playoffs. Their team actually is pretty good this year. I mean, I called the Heat being the 8th seed or what they are, and I said if
you listen to the beginning episodes, you would always say that they would be higher than Orlando.
If you face the Sixers, they're going to lose, and they lost. So they're going to have to do what they did last year, which is not going to happen. So we're gonna go with that play by play. But before we get into our playoff review and go into everything else, Chris, any words on Jonte Porter? That's the dude. He gets banned. First dude ever gets banned for life. They pulled a Pete Rose on him in the NBA for betting. Any words on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the NBA, and rightfully so, in a time where every other commercial is about sports betting, Johnny, they want to nail this shut immediately. They want to show zero tolerance. It doesn't matter what your name is. It doesn't matter who you are. You don't do this at this level in the NBA. And this poor guy, I think this, Johnny, I think he's the first one to get caught. Let's be real. I don't think that nobody bets. I think they all do. He's just the first one to get caught. I think the NBA is sending a message. And the last thing I'll say about it at the end of the day, I saw the numbers. I think the guy, for a couple $1,000s, he makes millions of dollars. And for a couple $1,000s, he ruined his career.
Well, I mean, he was like a role player. He was probably making the minimum. He was,
in comparison,
some G Leagues, 100%.
Yeah.
But people that don't really know how to manage money, they'll get a little bit of money. For me and you, not you, because you're a baller.
Right.
But for most people, $1 million a year is insane. But if you're making $1 million a year and you're hanging out with guys that are making $40 million a year, there's some people who try to keep up with the Joneses, keep up with that lifestyle, and then who knows, spiral out of control. But I mean, gambling in sports right now is this. How do you not expect this? I mean, like you said, all we see now is this accumulation of sports betting and sports. It's a disaster. What do you think is going to happen?
It's like do as I say, not as I do with the NBA, right?
Essentially. It's like, of course, but this particular scenario, this guy did everything wrong. This guy did literally. He bet on basketball. He bet in games that he was involved with.
Right.
There was prop bets that specifically involved him. It's like the horrible, horrible scenarios for this guy. But this is just the beginning. We're going to continue to see this type of thing. Gambling in sports invites major, major problems. It's going to continue. This is like inviting Chris to a buffet. Golden Corral's going bankrupt. It's going to happen. All right. You can't do that. All right. But it's interesting what's going to happen with baseball. Ohtani, that news that just happened. Ohtani was cleared, but that's a mess. Basketball is the first big news we heard in basketball. Football, we had Calvin Ridley, who got banned for betting on football, he did bet on football, but not his particular games. But it's a mess. It's going to continue. Guys, if you're a professional athlete, stop betting. You're making the money. You made it. Just don't bet. Is it that difficult to not bet?
They're not going to stop betting. They just got to do it better. There's people out there that have been betting for years.
It's not stop. Just stop.
And they've got a system in place.
You know why? Why guys like us? You know why guys like us bet, Chris? Because we're middle class guys who are like, we're doing okay, but we want to go ahead and maybe, if you win $10,000, are you kidding me? You win $10,000 on something, that's going to change your year, if not more than that.
Recording on a 4K camera.
A guy who's making 7 figures. Like, you already made it, dude. You already won the lottery. Stop betting. Stop betting. You're looking to go backwards in life instead of forward. But
last thing I'll say too, then to that point, Johnny. At the end of the day, the NBA basically said to the players, and the players said, "Message received," because I don't see this going any further, right? So I think that this is a good call for the NBA, and I don't see this happening anymore because of how quick and how strong they were in their response.
No, when you're in bed with the sports books and what our major sports are. Oh, it's just a matter of time. It's before something like this happens again. Now, this guy got caught red-handed, but make no mistake, it's going to happen again. Just a question of when, not if. Now, Chris, we'll get into the playoff preview, starting with the Eastern Conference. You have the Bulls, going ahead and taking that A seed. I have the Heat. Regardless of if it's the Bulls or the Heat, can we both agree they're going to face the Celtics? No matter who it is, they're going to get stomped on.
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
I agree with that 100%. I furthermore would say that it's going to be bad, man. It's going to be bad. Whoever they play, it's going to be bad. Boston has been so hot, and Johnny, to your point, how bad would it be? How bad would it be, Johnny, if Boston laid an egg to Chicago or to Miami. That's how, because we're both saying that Boston's going to win, right? So how bad could it possibly be if, in fact, Boston laid an egg?
Listen, if that happens, that's. I mean, I've seen Mutombo's Nuggets in the 8th seed went ahead and beat a number 1 seed the first time it ever happened. So anything can happen. But let's be clear.
But to this Boston team,
it's not. It's not this Boston team. I think we both have them winning it all.
Of course.
But they're just too dominant. So if we have them winning it all, I'm not going to entertain the idea of them losing.
Well, this is a podcast. You're going to have to entertain.
I'm not going to entertain this. I'll entertain real arguments.
If it happens, if it's a first round bye, do they blow up that team because of that?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, of course. No, I'm not going to say if they lose in the first round, then forget it. Then you're going to get your wish. Brown's going to the Magic, and it's like everything's going to blown up there. So, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So let's move on from that because that's not happening.
Absolutely.
Whether it's the Heat, whether it's the Bulls, they're losing to the Celtics here. So next game up here, we have the Sixers, the 7th seed. They're going to face the Knicks, the 2 seed here. How do you got this going?
76ers. Not just. Johnny, you nailed it earlier today when you were saying that this team, Embiid, is finally back there in a hot streak. So their record is not indicative of what would have happened had he been playing this whole time. Therefore, I think it's an easy one for me. It's Philly. It's Philly in maybe 5 games, if I can call the games as well. I think they get it done in 5. And New York is hurt too. Randall's hurt, so Philly capitalizes.
I had the Knicks going to the. I had the Knicks going into the Eastern Conference, finals.
Okay.
But then Randall got hurt. And listen, Brunson's been amazing. Brunson's going to get some MVP votes. He's 100%. He's going to do amazing things. The problem with Brunson is that he's going to have to pull what I call with Caitlin Clark. He's going to have to drop 40, 50 points a night in a 7-game series for the Knicks to win this. That's asking way too much. It's not going to happen here. So, yeah, Sixers are going to win this game, win the series. I'll give the Knicks 1 game on this. So it's going to be dropped in 5 games, the Sixers. I know people are pissed. The number 2 seed, this Sixers team isn't a real 7 seed. This is a fake 7 seed team in disguise. They could have easily been the number 2 seed. You can argue with the Knicks could have, the Knicks finished as high as they were going to finish because nobody's going to top the Celtics at number 1. But Randall could have really changed everything for the Knicks. It's too much for Brunson to handle on his own. Pacers and Bucks, Chris, who you got?
Well, first let me say that I think that the Bucks dodged the big one, Johnny. Losing and taking the 3rd seed, they dodged the big one because if they would have played Philly, stayed at the 2nd seed, right? I think the NBA would have loved to have seen a Doc Rivers reunion because he's coached both teams. That doesn't happen here. And so, again, Milwaukee gets lucky in this one. And I think Milwaukee has enough, Johnny, to beat the Pacers. The Pacers are still raw. They're still young. So give me the Bucks to win this series. I say 6 games. What do you?
I don't know, man. Listen, there are talks of Giannis missing the whole first round with that calf strain because the calf strain, what ends up happening, you end up getting the calf strain and you can pop like an Achilles if you're not careful with that. So it talks about it, but they picked up Lillard for a reason. So with Lillard being in the mix here, yes, I do see the Bucks winning this.
Ultimately, the Pacers are too young.
I don't see it. This can easily go 7 games, and I think it may go 7 games here because of the fact we don't know what's going on with Giannis. And the Pacers are young, but they're talented, man. So I'm not going to sit here and knock them and say it's not going to happen. The Pacers are a good team, but the Bucks are better. If the Bucks had faced the Sixers, they would have been out in the first round like they were last year. But it's not going to happen this way.
I'm taking, I said Bucks and 6. You're taking the Bucks and what?
And 7.
And 7. Okay.
So the series that I guess we're here in Central Florida, we're all excited about.
Magic.
So it's the Magic. Cleveland Cavaliers.
What?
Okay, it's the worst song in sports. Anyway. Cleveland Cavaliers. They're facing our Orlando Magic. Let me take a wild guess here, Chris. But I'm not even going to guess. I'm going to let you talk. Who you got?
Yeah, so Orlando versus Cleveland. You've got 2 young teams, Johnny. 2 young teams with a lot of great talent. I think it's going to be one hell of a series. I'm hoping that it's 7 games, 7 games at least. But, of course, I'm going to pick Orlando. There's no doubt in my mind I'm picking Orlando. We weren't expected. And when I did this podcast with you when we first started, Johnny, I always said Magic are going to make the playoffs. Okay. But, again, I didn't expect them to be to win games. They have exceeded everyone's expectations, including my own. So I do expect us to have a competitive series. The money, talking about money, Johnny, all says Cleveland. It all says that Cleveland's going to win. They have home field advantage, of course, and all that good stuff. However, give me Orlando. Give me 6 or 7 games. Banchero, last thing I'm going to say, USA team is going to regret not having Banchero as part of the Olympic team.
Okay, that's nothing
Orlando
to do
Magic.
with this.
Orlando
You're over here
Magic.
fanboy mad that Banchero's not. First off, you
analysis.
saw that USA team. That's legit. Banchero was outstanding player.
You're telling me Banchero doesn't deserve to be on that team?
No. If you look at
Stop it.
Who's he replacing?
That's irresponsible.
We'll discuss that next episode if you like here. But we're talking Cavs and Magic, and you're over here like USA. Well, there's a Matt Banchero's my favorite.
Yeah,
It's an evenly matched round. Okay, if you look at points per game, points allowed, field goal percentage, all are very similar. So it's really good. You ready for my analytics, Chris? On this particular series?
Your analysis? I know you're
my analytics. Analytics. I'm going to break this down here. No, not my analysis, you moron.
Your analysis.
Those are two different things. Analysis and analytics are two different things.
Kids, listen to the show. Can you please?
Anyway, I was going for the analytics, but I'm not really going analytics. I'm going over something that we've discussed previously, Chris. When you have two teams that are so evenly matched, what I'm looking for here is what small little detail, what bad juju it can be on one team, not the other here. So let me break this down for our listeners here. The Orlando Magic, every year, they have a promotion. They call it Fan Appreciation Night. It's the last game of the year at home here in Orlando. So part of that promotion, what they do is they go ahead and they send out flyers to all the elementary schools. And those flyers are like, you get on the honor roll.
He's hurt, folks.
If you get on the honor roll, you get him free to Orlando Magic game. The last game of the year, you get him for free. Now, obviously, that's set up. You register online. There's a limited amount of seats. There's certain things in play on that. But that's the promotion they have in play. So my kids, God bless them, came home with straight A's. They're like, boom, what the flyer attached to the report card saying, kid, you got this. You go into this game. I
helped them with their schoolwork.
So they came in all excited. I'm like, all right, guys, let's go. Let me go and sign up here. And I go to sign up these kids for the last game of the year. Let's go check it out as a family. And they eliminated that promotion. The school had the flyer. So at the last second, Orlando Magic, who have, as of late, have been terrible, not a losing franchise, had no problem giving back to their fans. And they're not just giving back. Let's be clear, folks, that while the kids getting a free ticket, the parents, you have to buy our ticket. I'm dropping hundreds of dollars on that ticket, on the merch, on food.
Everybody that knows you knows that you're not dropping.
No, you are.
He's as cheap as they come. He's not dropping. That's fake news.
He's
smiling. He's not dropping.
First of all,
he's bringing a bag lunch. He's bringing a bag lunch.
No. Like I pay for the experience. When I'm there, we're all set. Okay. But Orlando, it's just foolish for Orlando to eliminate that because. What are they doing here? They're creating lifelong fans. The kids are going to the game, doing anything else. So when I told my kids, nope, they eliminated the last second. The greed that has taken over the Orlando Magic, who finally have a winning season, and they went ahead and give a backhand to their fans, to their young fans. Orlando Magic hate kids. That's the message. Big bulletin.
So here's why
they hate honor roll students.
Here's why we're not going to get to live national syndication. This season, thanks to Johnny bulldozing the Orlando Magic. Look, it's not Orlando Magic's fault that because your kids, because you're being cheap, you didn't want to spring for two kid tickets. That's really what the point is. If you're listening to the podcast,
that's not the point.
Go ahead, give me your prediction.
This is always
this rant. Give me your prediction. Who's winning Cleveland versus Orlando?
So because you have these two evenly matched teams, and the bad juju is going to go ahead and take over the greed. That has, of course, and if you listen to the previous podcasts, I've always been the critic for Orlando Magic. Chris is the fanboy who the DeVos family can do no wrong. And for me, I'm like, no, they always put profits over, like wins. And of course, the business, you want to do that. For them to do that move is a joke. And because of that, because they went ahead and backhand the children of Central Florida.
They backhand the children of Central Florida.
The Orlando Magic are losing to the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round.
Okay, so that's the first team in the East that you and I have disagreements on. I pick Orlando, all that, to know that you pick Cleveland.
Yes.
Okay, so, and do we still at least agree then, no matter what, it's still going to be Boston? Everything runs through Boston in the East so far?
Boston's winning the Eastern Conference.
Okay. Yeah, we're both on the same page.
I don't see that changing.
Okay, perfect. Or we're both on the same page.
I am excited, as you are, I'm sure, to see the Sixers and Boston. I want to see Boston and Philly actually meet up some point in the playoffs, which we expect. But still, Celtics are just too good right now. But if Embiid stays healthy, man, they can push that to 7 games, in which I still think Boston's going to win.
Yeah, the key there is stay healthy, like I said about Miami and Hero. I was right. Moving on to the West, Johnny Cinco, where we already agree on the same thing, that number 1 and number 8, doesn't matter who it is at number 8, OKC is winning that round. Is that fair to say?
OKC's had their best year since Kevin Durant's. No, Kevin Durant's last year. It was their best year since Kevin Durant's last year there before he left after losing in the finals to Golden State. And, and he goes over there and he leaves. So we'll see. But regardless, you're correct. OKC is going to go ahead and win that first round.
Perfect. So that moves on to Denver and LA. A lot of people were saying that LA was trying to dodge Denver, this and that. I think it's complete BS, Johnny. What are your thoughts on that series? Who's coming out on top?
They should have dodged them. They got swept last year by Denver. Have the Lakers gotten better? Have the Lakers all of a sudden got better? No, they haven't got better. If they were smart, they would have found a way to avoid Denver. But of course, the competitors or whatever they're going to say, it's like, no, we're going to take on. Bro, you got stomped on last year by the Nuggets, and now with this year, you're older. Like you want to sit here and talk about, oh, look at LeBron. You saw the LeBron that I saw. You think a LeBron who airballs threes in clutch time, which is the LeBron that I've seen the last few years, but because he gets his numbers, his stats. Listen, the longevity. I give respect to LeBron because of the longevity. He's played like 20 years without really getting injured. That's why he has the records that he has. But when it comes down to making clutch shots, making clutch plays, when it really matters, man, that dude has faltered over and over and over again, and he's not doing anything. The Denver Nuggets are going to sweep the Los Angeles Lakers.
Okay, that's not going to happen. It's not going to be a sweep.
It's going to be a sweep.
And one thing that you're completely wrong about, Johnny, again, those people like myself that actually watch games, this LA team is better than last year's LA team. There's no doubt about it. The stats and the analytics, Johnny, see how that works now? They're both in my favor on this. This team, on paper, mentally, physically, everything you can say, they're better. They're better. They're a better
mentally
team.
And physically. Yeah, they're
younger because Russell Westbrook is no longer there. They're a better team. We've got better positions at guard. So look, this is what I'm going to tell you guys. Both teams are healthy, and I've been saying this to all of my friends.
Pick the Lakers.
So I'm glad. I'm glad. Listen. I'm glad that I can say this now
that's what I thought.
on the podcast, and I'm going to be very clear. If LeBron James can win this series and get his team onto the next level, he's always been, for me, Johnny, second place. He's always been second place. It's always Jordan, and then between Kobe and James.
Don't say something stupid, please.
Well,
don't say. I know you're right. You're right.
Finish?
Can I finish? I have a feeling you're gonna say something really stupid.
If LeBron James takes this LA team to the NBA Finals and wins, which he'd have to beat the Nuggets to do that, he, in my mind, in my book, would be the greatest NBA player to ever play, because he would be doing it in a year. Let me finish on it. He'd be doing it in a year where the Denver Nuggets are healthy. OKC is healthy. Minnesota's healthy. The Clippers are healthy. Everybody's healthy. Phoenix is stacked and healthy at the 6th seed. So if LA can beat the Nuggets and LA can win, go to the finals and win, LeBron James will be the greatest player of all time, period. That being said, Denver's winning this in 6 games.
No, dude, but
Denver's winning this in 6 games.
You're going to sit here and say that if LeBron picks up his 4th championship in 20 years playing, that all of a sudden that makes him the GOAT because he's playing. Dude, you can't say things like that.
His 5th ring.
He won
2 in Miami, 1 in Cleveland, 1 in LA is 4.
I forgot because of LA that COVID ring so it's really 3.5.
No, it'd be his 5th
ring. Come on,
so you're saying that if he wins the championship this year with this team, Johnny, with everybody healthy in the West and East, you're telling me that he's not the greatest of all time?
Dude, are you not paying attention to the NBA?
That's
are you not paying? This is what's frustrating about you. You talk out of both sides of your mouth. So we sit here and discuss the changes with sports in general.
Sure.
There's been changes in the NFL and the NBA.
Absolutely.
This game is watered down. So, yes, the fact that everything is set up for offensive production. Everything is set up for, okay, I want to see touchdowns. I want to see threes.
Though, Johnny. We're talking about offensive production.
I'm not done. So, everything is set up for that. So, there's no real defensive. Where is the glove? The old Gary Paytons of the past. Where are the defensive enforcers, the Bill Lambiers, the John Sallies? Where are those guys? They don't exist. So now anybody offensively, you can have a long career unless you have some traumatic injury out of nowhere. You can go ahead and just go down the line, everything without any risk of getting an elbow in the throat. There's anything you can do here. So yes, today's NBA, you're not going to sit here if LeBron's not beating the Nuggets. LeBron and the Lakers are not winning a championship.
So can you just answer the question?
As much as the NBA would like to,
I picked Denver in 6, Johnny. Can you answer the question?
I answered before I even handed it off to you. Sir.
So but answer the question. If LeBron wins a ring this year, he's still not the greatest.
I'm literally explaining this to you why that's no and why not. The watered down NBA.
Terrible.
Okay.
That's just terrible.
Brady had to. You see, where jersey we're rocking?
Took you
Brady,
to bring Brady up.
Brady had to crush.
This is NBA.
No, but I'm dumbing it down for you as best as I can.
Okay.
Brady had to crush Montana's numbers to go ahead and become the GOAT. So he couldn't have matched him at 4. Because the NFL changed. It wasn't as tough as it was with Montana. So Brady had to dominate it. Won 7.
In the NBA, Johnny.
Went to 10. I'm not, dude.
Don't dictate.
Dude, I'm not just
9.
talking. I'm not just. First of all, you're talking about a 5-on-5 game compared to the NFL, which is like 12-on-12 and anything else. So it does matter. Even more so in NBA than anything else here.
Up LeBron James being the greatest.
So
Denver and 6.
LeBron, in order for LeBron to go ahead and do that, LeBron has to crush, not just match, has to crush Jordan. Especially the fact that he has a losing record in the finals. Especially the fact that in clutch time he's a joke. So don't sit here and tell me because if he wins, it's 5th. And really 4.5 because that one championship COVID year is a joke. That COVID championship is worth half. It's anybody who knows anything about basketball knows that championship was a joke. And still, you give it to 5. He wins this one, he wins 5. And all of a sudden now, he's the GOAT with 5 rings.
He is the GOAT. The GOAT because he is winning a ring when the West is as competitive as it is. Nobody, you said earlier that I was talking about it both sides of my mouth. No, Johnny, I agree with that. The game is watered down from an offensive standpoint, but at the end of the day, you still got to play the games. At the end of the day, you still got to beat teams that are tough, that are stacked. You still got to beat healthy teams. This isn't Denver. This isn't Denver with an injured Denver team. Okay, that's not what this is. This is a bunch of teams in the West stacked that are healthy. So I'm going to stand by my statement, which, again, it's not going to happen because I'm picking Denver in 6. But all I said before you went on your famous rant was that if LeBron, if he goes to the finals with everyone healthy and beats everybody and wins a championship at 39 years old, yes, he'll be the greatest of all time. And a lot of people, older, younger, almost the majority, I would say, agree with me and disagree with you.
Oh, yeah, sure. Whatever. The majority.
I'll put it on X for people to vote on, and we'll see. And we'll see what people say.
You picked the Nuggets to win in 6.
Yeah.
And then you say something like, but if they win this, they're going to go ahead and there's the greatest of all time. You know what that is? That's irresponsible.
That's irresponsible. Trying to steal my words.
Moving on. Minnesota. They're going ahead. They're taking on the Phoenix Suns, Chris. Minnesota, Phoenix Suns. Who you got?
Yeah, Minnesota, Phoenix Suns. I'm taking the Suns. I'm going to make this very clear and very easy. The Suns, they bought their team, and Kevin Durant did what Kevin Durant does onto his next chapter. Don't you think I forgot about that, Johnny? And this team, like in the East, like when we talked about Philly, this team is better than the 6th seed overall from a talent perspective. They've bought and paid for this team. So give me the Suns to win this series. I still think it's Minnesota, right? So I think Minnesota is still too raw. Remember, Minnesota went from winning nothing to having a great draft, right, in this young kid. And now they're finally in the playoffs and a good seed. But this is where it stops. So give me Phoenix and I'm sorry, Eddie's going to be real happy about this. Give me Phoenix in 5 games. That's how confident I am in this Suns team.
No, you're wrong. This Minnesota
Phoenix
team.
In 5.
Minnesota team was in first place for the majority of the year, and there's a couple little stretches down the end here. They went up with Edwards or Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
This team is they were young. Now they're prime. Not necessarily to win it because the Nuggets are there.
Yeah.
But no, you're wrong. The Timberwolves are winning this in 5. They're winning this in 5.
Wow.
Phoenix is going to get 1 game. They're going to get 1 game. That's what's going to happen. Minnesota, you've underestimated how good Minnesota has been this year. For you to have to go picking the Suns now, who you've been dogging for a long time. You were saying the Suns weren't even going to make the playoffs.
I'm not a Suns fan.
And then all of a sudden at the end you said they're going to make the playoffs, and now you have them winning
because you got to give respect when it's due. You go back to the early beginning of the season, Johnny. It was Phoenix and it was the Clippers. Both stacked teams, both roster talent, veteran leadership, championship rings, all that good stuff, and they were both having terrible seasons. So yes, the consensus was these teams are struggling. But let's be real. They're the 6th seed. They got out of the play-in into the playoffs, and they have the pedigree, Johnny, to take the next step. Minnesota's still too raw.
Why do you say pedigree every single pedigree? And then you go and say that I say. I don't ever say it.
They like it when I say pedigree. Pedigree.
Okay. Sure.
So you're taking 5. I'm taking 5. You're taking 5 up for Minnesota.
Thing. I'm going Minnesota. Okay. You're going Phoenix.
Who's next?
Well, the best series, I think, of the first round, and that's the Clippers and the Mavericks. That's two amazing teams here. Who do you got winning that?
Yeah. Who do I want or who do I think?
Serious.
This is such a great series, Johnny, that I really feel this way.
Who's winning this series?
The Clippers.
Jeez.
I want Dallas to win. I'm still going to answer. I'm still going to say it. I would love Dallas, Luka, to take that step of heroism and then for them to win, but I don't see that happening. I see the Clippers. They came here for a reason. They bounced back for a reason. They've got more talent on that roster, more experience in that roster. So give me the Clippers. And Johnny, you're saying this is going to be a great series?
It is.
It may be a sweep. 4?
No, it's
5
not.
games.
It's the old man. It's the old man all stars versus the no defense Mavericks. So it's like the Mavericks. Man, my God, they have a great offensive play, but they can't play defense. And they're playing a bunch of really good old players. So that balance is going to go and create a 6-7 game series where the Clippers are going to win. Clippers are winning this series here, but it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be what the NBA wants: a lot of offense, minimal defense. But it's all said and done, LA is going to go ahead and win this series. It's something to where we've been dogging the Clippers all year because of the Harden trade and what happened. But this is as far as the Clippers are going to go. They have the team that they wanted with Harden. They got George. They got, obviously, Kawhi Leonard. And they're all relatively healthy. So they can do some damage out in the West. The Clippers are the only dark horse for me in terms of what they can do. The West is so stacked. Not with the garbage Lakers, but with Minnesota, OKC, Denver is so stacked. If the Clippers can somehow just find, not get injured and actually push through, they might do a serious upset moving forward. I think for the most part, both of us, and what you tell me if I'm wrong, we both have Denver winning the West. That's how I have it. Who do you have winning?
That was going to be my question. Has anything changed in the West for you? So you still have Denver?
I'm still holding it down with Denver. But what I'm saying, the point I'm trying to make is that the dark horse for me are the Clippers. Not OKC, who's amazing. Minnesota, who's on point. All of those teams, I still feel will lose to Denver. The Clippers, obviously, are going to lose to Denver. But they're the ones that maybe, if something kind of miraculous happens, can pull off the upset. I don't see it happening, but that's the only team, if I'm Denver, I'm a little wary on, almost scared of. I don't want to face them on the West side. In the East, it's similar. Boston is the team. The Sixers are the team that's the dark horse. Can really do some things. So Sixers are my possible upset team on the East, even though I still have Boston win it. On the West, I have the Clippers as being that potential upset team, even though it's the defending champions, I feel, who are going to go ahead and take the West. Boston, Denver, matching up in the finals, where I have Boston winning it all.
Well, so I've got took a second here to pull up the bracket just to make sure I give you the right info. So OKC, we already agreed the AC doesn't matter, right? And so between the Clippers and the Mavericks, we both picked the Clippers, right?
Yes.
So then it would be the Clippers and OKC to get to the Western Conference Finals. So that just to give you that breakdown. And then it would be between LA and Denver. We said Denver, right?
Yes.
It would be Denver versus the winner of Minnesota, Phoenix. So Phoenix has the tougher to get to the Western Conference Finals. So Denver it's got its stacked schedule. They're playing Phoenix.
Come on, you
the Clippers. I see why you're saying that the Clippers have your B team kind of is what you're saying. That's because they got an easy path. After the Mavericks, they got OKC,
dude,
and then they're playing Denver.
There's nothing easy about the Western Conference.
Everything is tough. There's nothing what? Say it again. There's nothing what?
Easy.
Which is why LeBron James wins. He's the greatest of all time. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you for making my point.
No.
So now in the East,
this.
Talking out of both sides of your mouth.
I'm not talking about both sides of my mouth. There's nothing easy about the Western Conference. But what you're saying is two different things. Meaning, in this brand of basketball, there's no easy path in the Western Conference. However, what you're talking about is legacy. You're talking about that all of a sudden now, LeBron James, by winning this, And what is considered difficult in this brand of NBA is not anywhere near as difficult as when it was real basketball back in the day. When those things were some difficult paths. That's why Jordan got his head clobbered by the Pistons over and over again. That path, he fought the fight, and when he got on top, he stayed on top. Now, this path that you have here, get out of here.
You know what I find funny that you're bringing up the Pistons?
And they're not going to.
I find it funny that you're bringing up
the
Pistons because back then, folks, and now this is beyond. This is we're too young for this part, but back in those days, people were saying the exact same thing. They were like, "Oh, Jordan didn't win during the '80s because basketball got weak in the '90s." Yes, that's what they would say, and they got weaker in the '90s because Jordan could never do it in the '80s. The Pistons would beat them up. So this is just history repeating itself. This is somebody who's now older, not giving the game the respect that it deserves.
This is what I mean. And this isn't the old man saying like back in my day.
That's exactly what you're doing.
No, it's not.
So you can say whatever you want to say, Johnny, but that's literally what you're saying right now.
There were no,
and you're watering down the brand. You're watering down the game. Well, all I'm saying,
I'm watering down the game. Yeah, the NBA is not watering down the game. Me speaking about it is watering it down.
That's what you're doing. Right, you're saying it's a watered down game, and I disagree with you. Yes, it's not as competitive from a defensive standpoint.
No, it's not. They changed the rules, dude.
Yes,
they changed the
rules. Offense sells tickets.
Yes, they changed the rules so that
you out of both sides of your
hand checking is not allowed. Somebody goes up to shoot the ball. If they land on your feet, foul. Okay. Everything is a foul because it's about putting points on the board.
Okay, and at the end of the day, you can't say that the West is tough and this and that. And then when I say something like, well, hey, if LeBron comes out of all that, now that we looked at the playoff bracket, he'd have to come out of that.
That's not the same thing.
He'd have to come out of it is, though, Johnny.
No, it is. You can't sit here. What you're saying is that if LeBron went ahead, and because I admit that the Western Conference has a difficult path to the championship, and you're saying that because if LeBron does it, that's you're giving him the legacy as the greatest of all time. And I'm saying, no, it's not.
Before we wrap up, let me ask you this question, Johnny. Where do you put LeBron now? Is he at least in your top 5? Where do you put him at?
Of course he's in my top 5.
Is he in your top 4?
Yes.
Is he in your top 3?
Yes.
Okay, so is he in your top 2?
No.
Okay, so he's in your top 3. So another championship, and this where the West is as tough as it is, we can agree at least on that. And for him, when we're saying that you're estimating they were probably going to get swept, for him to go and beat Denver, beat the winner of Phoenix, Minnesota, to then meet the Clippers. To your point, you're saying it's going to be OKC versus the Clippers. You're saying the Clippers are your dark horse. To then beat the Clippers, to then meet Boston is what you're saying, Johnny. And then at that point, he's still you're in your top 3, or number 2. Get out of here, bro. Get out of here, because that makes no sense. Just me saying it right now, it's like, whoa, it's not clicking for you, and I don't understand.
From somebody that saw the complete Jordan era and saw obviously LeBron's era.
So did I.
Jordan.
So did I.
Yeah, but obviously you're forgetting. You're a little younger than I am.
A little younger. I was in Peru watching.
And in Peru, sure. Like all that cable TV in Peru there. Yeah. Chucking Spears doesn't mean that you're watching TV. But Jordan, without question, and he played with great players. Even the great players like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, themselves, they went ahead and said, no, Jordan's the best I've ever seen while they're playing with him.
Sure.
Clyde Drexler, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone. There were all-time greats that never won a chip specifically because of Jordan. Jordan went away for a couple of years. That's the only reason why Clyde and Olajuwon won those championships with the Houston.
Yeah.
But
with the Houston, yeah.
With Houston. Yeah. So, I was going to say the Rockets, jackass. But I like how you're wrong. You want to go ahead and try to nitpick at me here.
It's just funny to me that you won't acknowledge it.
You know who my number 2 is? You know who my number 2 is after Jordan?
You're going to say something like Allen Iverson or Penny Hardaway. I'm just kidding.
Penny Hardaway?
Who's your number 2?
Penny Hardaway?
Who's your number 2?
Penny Hardaway. Yeah. Penny Hardaway doesn't even have his number retired by the Magic, but somehow he's at number 2 of all time. Number 2 of all time is Steph Curry. Steph Curry, and he played in the era of LeBron. Steph Curry changed the game. The NBA went ahead and adjusted these rules and do this nonsense here. Steph Curry, who beat LeBron beat him as well as here, but has changed how everything was done. I can't stand the way that today's NBA is. But hey, it's not his fault. Steph Curry went ahead, and you're gonna have the old cats are gonna go and say, "Oh, he couldn't play my era. He couldn't play my era." He can't do anything about that. In this era of basketball, he changed it. He's the reason. Jordan changed certain things as well, and Steph Curry had the same impact. So you're gonna have people like myself.
We're gonna have to have this argument offline.
You're gonna have people like myself that have the argument of like, hey, Steph Curry, LeBron. There was no argument when Jordan played. Nobody touched Jordan. The fact that there's even an argument that somebody else possibly, they still ate on your watch, and Steph Curry ate up on LeBron's watch during his era. When Kobe had it, Kobe's era, Kobe was on top. Nobody touched him. Yes, he went ahead with Shaq. He didn't, but he still won that chip without Shaq on his team to show that I can still do this as he was getting a little older. And he's proved himself. LeBron hasn't won anything without having all stars on his team. Jordan had one? Never played more than one all-star on his team. LeBron has stacks of all-stars, making finals, losing record in the finals. But yeah, if he wins this one,
right, when you're talking about somebody like Steph Curry in the same era that LeBron James, when you say things like, "Oh, the game is watered down," and then want to put that guy as your number two, that you know what that's called. I'm not even going to say it because you know what that's called.
What's it called?
You're talking out of both sides of your mouth. So look, it's not. It's ridiculous. It is just it is ridiculous. Sir, you had your turn. I'm gonna tell you this, man. At the end of the day, I don't comprehend when somebody says things like Jordan only played with one all-star, one this and that. Jordan played with Scottie Pippen. Jordan played with one of the top three best defenders of all time in Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not gonna let you just be like he didn't do that. And then talking about this era, Johnny, you're talking about an era of Steph Curry winning rings. Again, on the era where there were stacking teams, where the big three became popular, where Kevin Durant went to that team for them to win a ring. So when you're grabbing somebody, forgetting about all of that, and just saying, "Oh, he's number two," bro, you are something else. And Kobe Bryant deserves to be number two. The only thing that you said right about that whole rant that you did, what you were talking about, not many people ate when Kobe was winning. That is something that is true. That resonates true. Everything else is just jargon. You read ESPN while you're on the toilet. I don't know what you're doing, but you're just repeating nonsense. I'm sorry.
I'm not repeating nonsense.
You can't name Steph Curry as the number two greatest player.
I just did.
When he stacked himself with Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson. And that's why you're not a credible source.
Here's where
you're not
wrong.
credible.
KD went to win rings with Steph Curry.
Steph
Curry won rings without KD. So you want to say KD needed Steph Curry. Steph Curry didn't need KD. So, yes, he did that. And no, correction, Rodman, while he's amazing, one of the best defensive players and rebounds I've ever seen.
Top five.
He didn't.
Top five.
He wasn't an all-star when he played with the Bulls and when he played with Jordan. He wasn't an all-star.
No, he was just dropping 20 rebounds a game on any given game.
He wasn't an all-star
on any given game.
What was the factual statement that I made that you try to correct, but of course, as usual, you're wrong, is that he only played with one all-star. But so Jordan only ever played with one all-star. He never had more than one all-star. I'm not talking about former all-star. I'm talking current. That year we played, it was always Jordan at the most, and then Scottie Pippen.
I literally just told you that in the Big Three era, Johnny, when people are stacking each other, LeBron James is stacking each other, Kevin Durant is stacking himself, Steph Curry stacking himself. All these teams. Look at right now, Milwaukee trying to get Lillard to stack their team.
Yes, I know that because that's what everybody's trying to do.
You can't compare that to what what Michael Jordan did back in those days because that wasn't done back then. Back then you had loyalty. Back then you had players that stayed with their team.
Okay, and
so what are you talking about?
He was trying to say. Everything I'm saying is destroying your argument, that your irresponsible argument, that how somehow LeBron wins this chip, that he's the GOAT. Like, dude, get out of here.
I'm going to post this. I'm going to post this on Twitter, on X, excuse me.
You don't need
I'm going to post it. No. Because I believe that there are people, young and old,
this is like a political conversation,
really old, that agree with me, and I think the majority is going to agree that it's not going to happen. We both picked Milwaukee we both picked LA to lose against Denver.
Yeah, man, I get it.
So. If it happens, Johnny, I want people to vote, and we'll see whose side they're on.
It's just like a Republican Democrat.
Whoa. First, don't bring that.
No, I'm not going to get in detail on it, but there's people. You're not changing somebody's mind. So somebody who watched the Jordan era, who's set in that, you're not going to change my mind on LeBron. Same with these young cats who are looking at LeBron thinking that's basketball. It's not. I'm not going to change their mind. This is what I think. This is what it is. You think what you want to think. That's cool. I'm not going to change your mind, LeBron lovers. You're not going to change mine. But I'm looking at it with actual eyes. Now I'm looking at beer goggles, looking at LeBron.
We've been family. We've known each other for a very long time. And I'll never forget the time. I hate that I'm bringing Brady up right now, but when Brady was playing, when they were playing the Falcons, and I looked at you and I said, now, if Brady wins this one, he will be the greatest of all time. And I know that you're a fanboy of Brady, so you were like slobbering out the mouth to agree with me.
That's what I said.
That's what you were doing.
That's what I said.
But that's one of those moments, folks. That's what I'm talking about here. This is one of those moments where if LeBron, with the West healthy, can somehow, some way at 39 years old, will his team to win series after series after series to the finals, to beat a team that you've already enshrined, and so have I, by that matter, in the Celtics as winners. And you're saying that all of that happening would not be good enough to be the best, then we can agree to disagree. No, dude, that's fine. We can agree. Hey, I made my final point. We can agree to disagree.
It was a greater...
That doesn't make him the greatest.
No, it was a greater achievement for LeBron to beat Golden State after being down 3-1 than for LeBron to win the chip this year if he happens to win it. This would be
greater than that.
What we're discussing...
This would be greater than that. This would be greater than that, Johnny.
Okay, let me remind my counterpart, who obviously spends more time watching, women's ballet than actually the NBA.
Okay.
The Golden State Warriors had just got the record for most wins in the regular season.
I remember that.
LeBron just went back to Cleveland, his hometown here, after he got tired. He did what he needed to do with the Heat, and he went back over there.
Yes.
They're down 3 games to 1 the finals. No team ever have come back to win after being down 3-1 the finals. So you beat the team who won the record for most wins, beat the Chicago Bulls 72-win season. They beat that. They crushed the hopes and spirits of that Golden State team.
Right.
They pushed Kevin Durant out of Golden State after that.
Yep.
And somehow, if the Lakers win against a very good Western Conference this year.
Okay, dumb it down.
Very good Western Conference this year.
Where nobody
all of a sudden now that this is a bigger season than that. That's just ridiculous.
Here's why.
You guys know, listen to me, it's ridiculous.
You brought it up, so here's why it is, Johnny.
Sure.
Here's why it is. Why? Number one, LeBron has had interviews in the past where
interviews.
Listen, where he has said himself, he has, like he likes to do, has crowned himself after that series, and he said that after that he knew he was the greatest of all time. This is LeBron James
talking. That's nonsense.
Right. Well, hey, I disagreed with him. No worries. So that game has already happened. Now, that game may go down if the Lakers win a championship this year. That game may go down as the most memorable in his career, no matter what. I will agree with you there, because it was with Cleveland, his hometown team, and he won a ring for that city, and that they deserved it. This is where the pundits like myself and like you would shut our mouths, will be quiet, because, man, you won a series that nobody expected. You won in the West when nobody expected. And at 39 years old, you beat the Boston Celtics, which nobody expected, the money and everything, all of that aside. So, yes, Johnny, this is why I'm saying specifically that if he were to do this, which we agree he can't and has not, Johnny, he would be the greatest to ever play the game.
Well, all this
That's all I'm saying. Like, I don't know how else to put this.
Yeah, I know. We keep going in circles because you're just it's so dumb. I don't know what you're saying. The dumb things coming around is so ridiculous.
Okay.
The only thing this does, if he wins this championship, is that he's going to actually get cred from LA fans. LA fans don't respect that chip that LeBron gave them.
Except they do.
They don't. They'll take it because they want to go ahead and be like, we got you. But they don't. LeBron wants Kobe respect in LA, and he's not getting it on that COVID championship. Now he wins this one. Oh, he's gonna get he'll get respect from everybody else.
All right,
but ultimately, what this does is give him that respect from the LA fans to be like, all right, now you're a Laker. Now you went ahead and got us the championship. We want multiple championships.
I almost want LA to win the championship so that we can see what ESPN and all that does with the greatest of all time. So I can rub it in your face.
Sure.
But anyway, that's not going to happen anyway.
It's not going to happen.
Before we wrap up, Johnny, I know that we've had a great show so far, but let's give those who are still listening right now, let's give some final love to the Florida teams. And I know that we said that if Miami makes it to the 8th seed, that Boston is going to tear them up. Can Miami do anything to win against Boston if Miami wins? Can they do anything? Like, what is their path to victory if there is one?
There's you can go with the Tanya Hardin philosophy, is where you go ahead and take a lead pipe to the ankles of Tatum and Brown.
That's terrible.
If they take that approach, they got a shot. But anything other than that, no, they don't. I know you have the Bulls going ahead and winning that.
Let me tell you, besides the fact that Butler's hurt and all that, I just think that it's a redemption game. But you know what, man? The person who got the short end of the stick when it comes to the NBA is DeRozan. The guy has needed to be picked up by any team during the free agency trade period. It did not happen during the trading period. And this guy has some vengeance. He's at 33, 34. He's 34. A 20-point machine. I would love to, man. I would love to see this guy beat Boston. Right?
Well,
it's not going to happen, but I would just love to see that happen. And of course, as Magic fans know, Vucevic is still the center for Chicago. So what a great storyline would that be as far as redemption and beating the Boston Celtics?
Yeah, DeRozan didn't go anywhere because Chicago's asking price was asinine. They were asking for way too much for him, and everybody else we're not doing that for a rental for a few months.
Sure.
So it didn't work out that way, but it is what it is. But we'll see what happens. And then we went back and forth a little bit. We agree on very little this show, but we do agree on who's actually going to be in the NBA Finals, and that's the Boston Celtics Denver Nuggets here. But we did it, Chris. Another great show. Yours truly, of course. You did okay. But you guys, if you want to, any questions or concerns, that's FM Sports. Actually, it's a FLMansports@gmail.com. If you have any questions, concerns, anything you want us to add to the show, you can reach us on the gram, on X, however you want to do it. But I hope you enjoyed the latest installments of FM Sports. It's Johnny. That's Cris, Adios.
We're out.